need to go to my classroom and check and see if there's a book there real quick. Niels, do you have notice rights? Okay. Can you send out a reminder notice about story time while I go to the school real quick? Well, that's what I was afraid of. Second Life ate my copy of the Stinky Cheese Man. I know, right? I'm gonna have to get a different book. Here's an interesting looking one. Wow, we have a whole bunch of books to read today. And I'm sorry I just stood on some of y'all's heads. Okay, let me send out a thing in chat real quick and then we will start. Which one do you want to hear first, guys? We've got A Bad Case of the Stripes, Winkin', Blinkin' and Nod, The Minosaur, and what's the other one? Oh, If You Take a Mouse to School. Okay, so which one do you guys want to listen to first? Mouse? Okay. This time I have a drink to keep my throat from drying out. Can you believe, guys, that Niels wanted me to read Fox and Socks again? I want to make sure everybody can hear me before I start.
I know.
Niels! You shush. Whoa, sounds like someone's speeding out there. Okay, is Kiki back yet? I didn't want to start without her. There's so many names in here. If you take a mouse to school, he'll ask you for your lunchbox. Now, how is a mouse going to fit in, when you give him your lunchbox, he'll want a sandwich and a snack for later. Then he'll need a notebook and some pencils. It looks like he needs a mouse-sized notebook and mouse-sized pencil. When you get to school, he'll put his things in your locker and take a look around. Oh wow, he's making a mess. He might do a little math and spell a word or two. What does those words say? Onomatopoeia, precocious, adrenaline, mercurial. I'm pretty sure mice don't know how to spell that. He'll even try a science experiment. Then he'll need to wash up. You'll have to take him to the bathroom. Once he's nice and clean, he'll be ready for his lunch. On the way to the lunchroom, he'll see some building blocks. He'll build a little mouse house. That is not a little, that is a big house. And then he'll need some books for his bookshelf. He'll start by writing one of his own, so he'll need a lot of paper. I think that mouse is a little troublemaker, isn't he? He'll probably use up all your pencils. Wow. When he's finished, he'll want to read his book to you. Then he'll want to take it home, so he'll put it in your lunchbox and tuck it in a safe place. When the bell rings, he'll run out to wait for the bus. And try not to get trampled by all those kids. While he's waiting, he'll play a quick game of soccer. I'm pretty sure he would get smushed. Then he'll ask you to shoot a few baskets. and do a little skateboarding. Whee! Jinx, Furby, you owe me a soda. When he stops to catch his breath, he'll want to eat his snack. So he'll ask you for your lunchbox. And chances are, if he asks you for your lunchbox, you'll have to take him. Back to school. Camilla Cream loved lima beans, but she never ate them. All of her friends hated lima beans, and she wanted to fit in. Camilla was always worried about what other people thought of her. Today she was fretting even more than usual. It was the first day of school, and she couldn't decide what to wear. There were so many people to impress. She tried on 42 outfits, but none seemed quite right. She put on a pretty red dress and looked in the mirror. Then she screamed. "Oh, my heavens!" she cried. "You're completely covered with stripes." This was certainly true. Camilla was striped from head to toe. She looked like a rainbow. Mrs. Cream felt Camilla's forehead. "Do you feel all right?" she asked. "I feel fine," Camilla answered, "but just look at me." "You get back to bed this instant," her mother ordered. "You're not going to school today." Camilla was relieved. She didn't want to miss the first day of school, but she was afraid of what the other kids would say, and she had no idea what to wear with those crazy stripes. That afternoon, Dr. Bumble came to examine Camilla. "Most extraordinary," he exclaimed. "I've never seen anything like it. Are you having any coughing, sneezing, runny nose, aches, pains, chills, hot flashes, dizziness, drowsiness, shortness of breath, or uncontrollable twitching?" "No," Camilla told him. "I feel fine." "Well then," Dr. Bumble said, turning to Mrs. Cream, "I don't see any reason why she shouldn't go to school tomorrow. Here's some ointment that should help clear up those stripes in a few days. If it doesn't, you know where to reach me." And off he went on, and Night of the Living Lollipop. She tried her best to act as if everything were normal, but when the class said the Pledge of Allegiance, her stripes turned red, white, and blue, and she broke out in stars. The other kids thought this was great. One yelled out, "Let's see some purple polka dots." Sure enough, Camilla turned all purple polka dotty. Someone else shouted, "Checkerboard!" and a pattern of squares covered her skin. Soon everyone was calling out different shapes and colors, and poor Camilla was changing faster than you can change channels on a TV. Aw, those kids are mean. That night, Mr. Harms, the school principal, called. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Cream," he said. "I'm going to have to ask you to keep Camilla home from school. She's just too much of a distraction, and I've been getting calls from the other parents. They're afraid those stripes may be contagious." Camilla was so embarrassed. She couldn't believe that 2 days ago everyone liked her. Now nobody wanted to be in the same room with her. Her father tried to make her feel better. "Is there anything I can get you, sweetheart?" he asked. "No, thank you," sighed Camilla. What she really wanted was a nice plate of lima beans, but she had been laughed at enough for one day. Well, yes," Dr. Bumble mumbled when Mr. Cream phoned the next day. "I think I'd better bring in the specialist. We'll be right over." About an hour later, Dr. Bumble arrived with 4 people in long white coats. He introduced them to the Creams. "This is Dr. Grop, Dr. Sponge, Dr. Cricket, and Dr. Young." Then the specialist went to work on Camilla. They squeezed and jabbed, tapped and tested. It was very uncomfortable. "Well, it's not the mumps," concluded Dr. Grop. "Or the measles," said Dr. Sponge. "Definitely not chicken pox," put in Dr. Cricket. "Or sunburn," said Dr. Young. "Try these," said the specialist. They each handed her a bottle filled with different colored pills. "Take one of each before bed," said Dr. Gripe. Then they filed out the front door, followed by Dr. Bumble. Too many weird names. That night, Camilla took her medicine. It was awful. When she woke up the next morning, she did feel different. But when she got dressed, her clothes didn't fit right. She looked in the mirror, and there, staring back at her, was a giant, multicolored pill with her face on it. Oh, wow.
Oh my god.
That's terrible. Dr. Bumble rushed over as soon as Mrs. Cream called, but this time, instead of specialists, he brought the experts. Dr. Gourd and Dr. Mellon were the finest scientific minds in the land. Once again, Camilla was poked and prodded, looked at and listened to. The experts wrote down lots of numbers. Then they huddled together and whispered. Dr. Gourd finally spoke. "It might be a virus," he announced with authority. Suddenly, fuzzy little virus balls appeared all over Camilla. "Or possibly some form of bacteria," said Mr. Mellon. Out popped squiggly little bacteria tails. "Or it could be a fungus," added Dr. Gourd. Instantly, Camilla was covered with different colored fungus blotches. The experts looked at Camilla, then at each other. "We need to go over these numbers again back at the lab," Dr. Gourd explained. "We'll call you when we know something." But the experts didn't have a clue, much less a cure. She's turning into a monster. Run for your lives. By now, the TV news had found out about Camilla. Reporters from every channel were outside her house, telling the story of the bizarre case of the incredible changing kid. Soon a huge crowd was camped out on the front lawn. The Creams were swamped with all kinds of remedies from psychologists, allergists, herbalists, nutritionists, physics. No, wait, is that physics or psychics? No, I think it's psychics. An old medicine man, a guru, and even a veterinarian. Miss Gabby is messing up her reading. Each so-called cure only added to poor Camilla's strange appearance until it was hard to even recognize her. She sprouted roots and berries and crystals and feathers and a long furry tail, but nothing worked. One day, a woman who called herself an environmental therapist claimed she could cure Camilla. "Close your eyes," she said. "Breathe deeply and become one with your room." "I wish you hadn't said that," Camilla groaned. Slowly, she started to melt into the walls of her room. Her bed became her mouth, her nose was a dresser, and 2 paintings were her eyes. The therapist screamed and ran from the house. "What are we going to do?" cried Mrs. Cream. "It just keeps getting worse and worse." She began to sob. At that moment, Mr. Cream heard a quiet little knock at the front door. He opened it, and there stood an old woman who was just as plump and sweet as a strawberry. "Excuse me," she said brightly, "but I think I can help." She went into Camilla's room and looked around. "My goodness," she said with a shake of her head. "What we have here is a bad case of the stripes, one of the worst I've ever seen." She pulled a container of small green beans from her bag. "Here," she said, "these might do a trick." "Are those magic beans?" asked Mrs. Cream. "Oh, my, no," replied the kind old woman. "There's no such thing. These are just plain old lima beans. I'll bet you'd like some, wouldn't you?" she asked Camilla. Camilla wanted a big, heaping plateful of lima beans, more than just about anything. But she was still afraid to admit it. "Yuck," she said. "No one likes lima beans, especially me."
Okay.
"Oh dear," said the old woman sadly. "I guess I was wrong about you." She put the beans back in her bag and started toward the door. Camilla watched the old woman walk away. Those beans would taste so good, and being laughed at for eating them was nothing compared to what she was been going through now. She finally couldn't stand it. "Wait," she cried. "The truth is, I really love lima beans." "I thought so," said the old woman with a smile. She took a handful of beans and popped them into Camilla's mouth. "Mmm," said Camilla. Suddenly, the branches, feathers, and squiggly tails began to disappear. Then the whole room swirled around. When it stopped, there stood Camilla, and everything was back to normal. "I'm cured!" she shouted. "Yes," said the old woman. "I knew the real you was in there somewhere." She patted Camilla on the head. Then she went outside and vanished into the crowd. Afterward, Camilla wasn't quite the same. Some of the kids at school said she was weird, but she didn't care a bit. She ate all the lima beans she wanted. She never even had a touch of stripes again. Okay, that book is over. Finally! That one took forever, mainly because of all the interruptions, but let's read Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod next. Well, you can paint yourself up in stripes later, Adora. No, we don't eat crayons, guys. Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod one night sailed off in a wooden shoe. Sailed on a river of crystal light into a sea of dew. "Where are you going, and what do you wish?" the old moon asked the three. "We have come to fish for the herring fish that live in the beautiful sea." "Nets of silver and gold have we," said Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod. "Those are weird names for girls." The old moon laughed and sang a song as they rocked in the wooden shoe. And the wind that sped them all night long ruffled the waves of dew. Okay, thank you for joining us, Kiki, even though you can't hear her voice. The little stars were the herring fish that lived in that beautiful sea. Now cast your nets wherever you wish. Never afeard are we. So cried the stars to the fishermen three, Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod. All night long their nets they threw to the stars in the twinkling foam. Then down from the skies came the wooden shoe, bringing the fishermen home. 'Twas all so pretty a sail, it seemed as if it could not be, and some folks thought 'twas a dream they dreamed of sailing that beautiful sea. But I shall name you the fishermen three, Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod. Winkin' and Blinkin' are two little eyes, and Nod is a little head. And the wooden shoe that sailed the something, can't read that word, it's too small, is a wee one's trundle bed. So shut your eyes while Daddy sings of wonderful sights that be, and you shall see the wonderful things as you rock on that misty sea. Okay, well, we have one more book to read if you guys want, or we could call it quits here. It's up to you. More! Okay.
Heck no, we won't go. Heck no.
You sure do love your stories, don't you? Okay, this one is called The Minosaur. Ella, you want to come sit with Mommy? Wow. Fine. see how it is. I'll just sit up here by myself. These books have so many extra pages. Yeah, you can play in the playground when there's nothing going on. One morning before Mrs. Raptor rang the bell, the dinosaurs were playing in the schoolyard. All of a sudden, they heard a roar. Mine, mine, mine! Oh no, muttered Stegosaurus. Here comes the Minosaur. I'm going to do a funny voice for Minosaur. He snatched the jump rope and the ball. He threw the cars against the wall, and then he roared to one and all. Mine, mine, mine! Iguanodon said, that's not fair. Triceratops said, you should share. But the Minosaur yelled, I don't care! You bite, bite, bite! Sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your ears. Right then the bell rang. The Minosaur hugged the toys inside. All mine. You're late, Mrs. Raptor said when the Minosaur finally came to class. Now you'll have to paint your project during snack time. By the time the Minosaur finished, snack time was in full swing. The Minosaur rushed on ahead. He snatched the scones and the strudel bread. He bit the buttered tarts and said, Here, mine, mine, mine! La, 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 la. That's our food, yelled Apatosaur. Potosaur? No, it's not, cried Minosaur. And soon there was a tug-of-war, and he yelled, Mine! Thank you, Melody. The rest of class can go out for recess, Mrs. Raptor said. You will stay here until you clean up this mess. The Minosaur scowled and bit into a scone. At least the food's all mine, he grumbled. But the feast wasn't as much fun when it was made for one. At recess, the Minosaur saw the other dinos having fun building a tower. His arms were flailing all around. The tower tumbled to the ground. He grabbed a bunch of blocks and frowned. Here, mine, mine, mine! How could you? Yelled Iguanodon. It's wrecked now, said Pteranodon. The Minosaur said, Oh, come on, these blocks are mine. The dinos rolled their eyes. Finally, Triceratops said, Let's go, guys. I don't need them anyway, said the Minosaur. I'll build a better tower by myself. Look at this, he shouted. The biggest tower ever. But there was no dino around to hear. I don't think so. Miss Nicole is better at doing voices than me. At the other end of the yard, the rest of the dinos were laughing and playing. They didn't seem to miss the Minosaur at all. The Minosaur began to shake. There's nothing left for me to take. No toys at all, for goodness sake. And they don't care. The Minosaur wanted to laugh and play too, so he gathered up all the stuff that was his and headed toward the dinos. The Minosaur asked, Want some snacks? The other dinos turned their backs. I brought the blocks for us to stack. Come on, let's share. See, if you take everything for yourself, you won't have anyone to play with. The Minosaur tried saying, Please, I brought some toys. I'll give you these. The dinos stared down at their knees. They just didn't care. Okay then, said the Minosaur. He put all his stuff down. You guys should play. don't have snotty fingers. The dinos looked at each other. Isn't this your stuff? Asked Stegosaurus. The Minosaur shook his head. I shouldn't have taken it. The Minosaur was still walking when he heard the dino shout, Wait! I don't have snotty nose, guys. They said, We want to play with you, said Minosaur. You really do? The dinos nodded. Yes, that's true. If you'll share, it's fine. The Minosaur yelled, It's a deal! I have the thing I want, he squealed. You don't know how this makes me feel, my friends. You're mine. Mine, mine, mine. The end. And you guys are all mine too.